Hi, I'm Rachel. Welcome back to Oxheart Gardening. It is time for our weekly garden tour. But before we get into that, since this is kind of vlog style tour anyway, I have some news for you guys. Last night, there was a big fire in my neighborhood, and I know I've mentioned it on here before, but probably a lot of you don't know that I live in an old mill town. And the mill was what was on fire last night. And over there I can still see a lot of steam, and maybe it's a little bit of residual smoke coming from the fire. I got a video last night. It looked a lot closer to me than I thought the mill actually is, but it's relieving to know that it wasn't somebody's house, and there hasn't been any reports of anybody being hurt, so that's good. You can probably see that it's also quite wet out here today, and it rained some last night, so I'm actually really surprised that the fire got as bad as it did in the middle of the rain, but it wasn't super hard rain. It was more like just a consistent drizzle all night. If I can walk down there today and see what happened and get a little video, I will put that at the end here for you. But getting on with the garden tour, today I am really excited to show you guys how things are doing. There's been a few changes, and we're also going to harvest Brussels sprouts together for lunch with one of my friends. Hey, sweet boy. What you doing? As always, we're starting with the trellis on the far side. This is where the fava beans are, and there's a row of onions here in the middle of them. And we have some new sprouts here. I planted radishes here on the last video, and they are just now starting to pop up. Those are early red globe radishes. Elsewhere in the garden I have white icicle radishes, Chinese red meat radishes, and China rose radishes. My spinach hasn't quite taken off like I thought it would. We had a very warm week, and today is the first cool day in a while. Something's definitely been chewing on it, but it's still making fresh new leaves in the middle, so I'm not super concerned. If I don't get to harvest off of this, it's not the end of the world, but this little bit of spinach is not worth spraying something on to kill whatever's eating it. I always tell people with gardening, you gotta plant enough to share unless you're willing to spray a serious amount of chemicals on your food, because there's not much you can do. You're gardening in the outdoors, insects live outdoors, and it's kind of just par for the course, something you need to expect. And a few little holes in your spinach isn't going to hurt you when you eventually go to eat it. So that's something that a lot of people don't expect to deal with, but I think it's really important to know that you will deal with, is just the bugs and the fact that you're not going to get to harvest and eat everything you grow, and that's actually okay. There are a lot of strategies out there for reducing pest pressure naturally, things like trap crops and crop rotation and just companion planting. And then there are organic sprays and stuff. I try not to use any of those because I'm trying to figure out how to live in the ecosystem that we've been given and kind of balance the good bugs and the bad bugs, and just cultivate something that's really alive instead of trying to operate outside of the normal framework of the environment of the earth that we live on. If you want to hear me talk more about that, I do have a video called Why I Garden. It is on my channel talking about why I have my garden, why I'm passionate about it, and why I'm here on YouTube sharing with you guys about that garden. Getting back to the garden at hand, the carrots not yet sprouted, but that's not unheard of. It usually takes a couple of weeks at least for carrots, so I'm not super worried. I've been checking them every day, and I know that they've been staying moist and covered, so it's probably fine. My 2 kohlrabi here, the leaves are starting to look really nice, but I'm not sure if they will ever really bulb up. I'm wondering if I will still be able to eat them if they're tiny like this. I'm thinking probably, but I'm not sure how worth it it'll be. So if we look at the next 2 rows where the brassicas are, on the right row you can see there's some onions dotted in here, and then on the side the ones that look much bigger are the garlic. Oops, I almost tripped. The garlic I'm very excited about. You can see my 1 cabbage here in the front. It's definitely not going to have time to head up. There's a little baby cabbage here. Like I said before, these leaves that look nice at the top are certainly going to be edible, and I will do my best to do something with them on this scale. So where some of the cabbages had died, here's one that I ended up not pulling out, but where some of them had died, I put in, this is a baby kale plant, looking pretty good, and then I put in a few lettuces, and these here are actually, I think they're turnips. I'm gonna get my turnips and my rutabagas all mixed up, I'm sure of it now, because I did not label them. But these ones are definitely lettuce, and they're finally looking really healthy. And they have the look about them like they're about to start growing really fast. I had planted 2 to a pot when I was starting the seeds inside, and I decided to leave some of them as 2 together when I planted them out in the garden, just to see what would happen. Some of them I planted just a single by themselves, and we'll see if we have time to even see how that experiment works out. But I put them next to each other to kind of see how much a difference it'll make in the size of the lettuce if it has to share its little spot with one other plant or not. Back here, the turnips are actually flowering. I had mentioned last week I noticed them starting to, but these ones have actually started. You can see how this kind of looks like a little bit of broccoli in the middle, and those are all expanding out to flowers, and that is exactly what the broccoli is going to do. There's a few in here that haven't actually started yet, and I still need to pull maybe. I think leaving this many to go to seed is too many, considering how big my radishes got when I let them go. I'll probably thin out to like 10 plants along this whole row and have that be it. There's probably something like 40 plants here now, so I've still got a lot of turnips to pull. And that's really good to know if you're looking at when do I harvest my broccoli and my cauliflower. Well, you wait until the head gets a little bigger, and then if you feel it start to loosen even just a little bit, that's it, deciding I'm done getting bigger as a head and I'm about to expand and flower like I just showed you. So that would be a great time to go ahead and pull it if you're unsure. These little Brussels sprout plants here, these ones I started from seed as opposed to the other ones which I got starts for. And I didn't really expect to harvest much off of these, but the other day I came through and pulled some of the bigger ones from the bottom, and you know, after I pulled 5 or 6 Brussels sprouts off of 10 plants, suddenly I had 60 Brussels sprouts, which was, you know, not a small amount. And so I'm thinking I'll be able to come through again today and get enough to serve for lunch. We'll come back to that at the end though, because I'm gonna have to set up my tripod and all this stuff. Check out how big the peas are getting though. Some of them are even starting to grab onto the trellis, which is really exciting. And the onions on the other side are also looking really great. We are up to 5 leaves. Some of them might be starting on their 6th leaf. Here's one of those kales. This one's actually, I think, the biggest kale that I planted out. And this is an interesting comparison, Draco, because this one right here is also the same kind of kale planted out, and this one I planted direct seed in the garden like a month at least before this one got started indoors, and you can see there's just a huge difference in their size. This one had to start in the cold, and this one had a nice head start in a warm environment. This final row of Brussels sprouts and cauliflower, I actually have something to show you. I noticed this right after I finished the last garden tour and had already uploaded it. But look at that! This probably needs to get pulled. But isn't that beautiful? You can see it's starting to spread out like I talked about. It's not just a tight head, which is a really good indication that it's about ready. This next one, even prettier. Oh my goodness. Can't wait to eat that. But there's something weird, right? There is always something weird. But this one, if you look in the middle, it's just death. There's nothing there. And I don't have any idea what could do that. There's another one, if we go just a little farther down, same story. Looks beautiful on the outside, and then you look in the middle and this little bit of cauliflower that's there looks like poo. It's dead. So I would love to hear if you guys have ever seen this before. But I was over here thinking I was not going to get any cauliflowers at all, and then I turned around and there they were. So that's pretty exciting. Some of the older radishes that I planted a few weeks ago starting to put on their second set of leaves, which people would call their first set of true leaves. And once they start doing that, they've started photosynthesizing, and they're getting their own energy from their leaves, and they will probably be able to start really taking off. From here, it should be just a couple short weeks until they're pretty much ready to harvest. And that varies on variety to variety and the growing conditions that you have. But I've said before, radishes are the quickest return for your time. The fastest varieties can take as little as 23 days from germination to harvest, which is wild, and really great for the impatient gardeners who really want to have something to show for their work. I have not yet pulled my rutabagas, mostly out of laziness, and they have not started going to seed yet, so that's good. Unclear if they will continue to bulb up or not. Not really expecting them to, but probably as soon as they show the first signs of flowering, they will get pulled. Okay, let's go harvest some Brussels sprouts.
What matters to me
Alright, I'm up on my porch where hopefully you can hear me. Right as I was about to go do that, somebody started taking a tree down across the street, and it's been very loud, so you just heard music for all of that harvesting. I got quite a few Brussels sprouts, and I took my 2 cauliflowers, and the bottom of this smaller one, it does not look good. It looks like some sort of rot. This is my first time growing cauliflower, so I will have to do some research on that. But the tops look okay for the most part, so I think I'll still be able to eat it. But I'm still going to Google and check. Something I'm going to want to do for all of this, regardless of the rot, is soak it in salt water. That'll force all of the slugs and other bugs to kind of crawl out, because I definitely saw a few on there. And like Jess at Roots and Refuge says, real food comes dirty. And this is expected, and the food is going to be okay. She likes to say, if the slugs don't want to eat it, why should I? So I will take it as a compliment that the slugs really want my Brussels sprouts. Alright guys, and that is it for the garden tour. I hope you guys enjoyed, I hope you learned something, and I hope I will see you here again next Wednesday for the next garden tour for this Wednesday and every foreseeable Wednesday for the future. Happy gardening!